Get your eyes off of the storm and onto the storm calmer. Every moment we have choices of what to think about and focus on. We can choose to focus on what is true, right, pure, lovely, on all the ways that God has been faithful to mankind throughout history and all the amazing promises that He has for our future. We can meditate on the truth that the same power that raised Christ from the dead lives in us. And renewing our mind on these truths has led to actions of faith that have allowed mere men to walk on water, pray down rain and fire from heaven, and stop the sun. It also allows us, like Paul, to rest and experience peace and all the fruits of the Spirit, no matter what circumstances we're facing. However, the same man who walked on water sunk when he turned his thoughts to the storm. The same man who took on the prophets of Baal and called down rain and fire from heaven ran and hid in a cave crying from an angry woman when he took his thoughts off of how big his God was and turned them to how scary the battle was. Whatever we focus on is what we're going to feel. Whichever side we allow to consume our thoughts is the side that will ultimately consume our lives. Cultivating a mind of faith is the difference between living in the power and rest that God desires for us, or living in anxiety and depression. As Deuteronomy 30:15 says, "I lay before you life and death. Choose life." I want you to notice that in the story of Elijah, his act of faith and his act of fear are only a couple days apart. He's literally just taken on the prophets of Baal. He just called down rain and fire from heaven. And it's only a couple days later that he's running from this woman, acting like the situation is completely hopeless. Has he forgotten in such a short time all the power that's available to him? It really seems as though he has. Now, God hasn't changed, and Elijah's ability to receive God's power hasn't changed, but his mindset has changed. His mind is no longer set on God's power. It is now set on these scary circumstances, and his mindset changes everything. When I read these stories, my initial reaction is that Elijah's crazy. However, I have to admit, I've always kind of thought of Elijah as my twin brother, because this was me so many times throughout my life. God would show me some amazing faithfulness, and then something would happen, and instantly I'm back to fear, anger, discontent, unbelief, or questioning God. And I am so grateful that God is patient with us. When we face scary circumstances, we would do well to remember that the God we serve created the entire universe. He promises to work all things together for good, even when we can't see or understand them. The God who named the stars gave very clear instructions on how we're to face storms. We're to rest through them, just like he did when he was caught in a literal storm in the middle of a lake. When the disciples got scared of the wind, he was almost offended. It was as if they had forgotten who it was that was in the boat with them. Have you forgotten who you have in the boat with you? If you have, take some time out today and reset your mind on the goodness and power of God. 2 Chronicles 20:15 says, "The battle is the Lord's. Be not afraid nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but God's. He laid the foundations of the earth. There is nothing that is too difficult for him, and there is nothing that catches him by surprise." Pastor Joseph Prince says, "We fight by feeding on God's truth and resting in his love. We need only 5 words to win. The battle is the Lord's." When the diagnosis says positive, you whisper confidently, "The battle is the Lord's." When your spouse or your kids are going astray, you say, "The battle is the Lord's." And when lies rise up in your mind, you shout, "The battle is the Lord's." He is faithful. We need only to rest in the promise that he's a good father. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. Philippians 4:8. If you want to learn more about how to start a relationship with God, click the link below. And as always, have a blessed week.